Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Rashmi Sinha from Indira Gandhi National Open University. Today, we are going to talk on module Factors Affecting Growth from the paper Human Growth and Development. What are we going to learn in this module? The objectives are to study the factors affecting growth in human and their relationship. The term growth denotes a net increase in the size and mass of the tissue. It is largely attributed to multiplication of cells and increase in intracellular substance. According to Hurlock, growth is the change in size in proportion, disappearance of old features and acquisition of new ones. Growth pattern of every individual is unique and different patterns in body grow at different rates. From the earliest moments of life, the interaction of heredity and environment works to influence the growth of an individual. In the current scenario, lifestyle factors are playing an effective role on growth. Pre and post-natal growth is based on both hereditary and environmental factors, which include lifestyle factors as well. Each factor must be optimal in an optimal state for normal growth of a child. Also, some fetal conditions may affect postnatal growth too. The genetic instructions a child inherits from his parents may set out a roadmap for development. The environment can influence how these directions are expressed, shaped, even silenced. The complex interaction of heredity and environment does not just occur at definite moment or at a definite period of time. It is persistent and lifelong. This unit, we are going to talk of the factors which are influencing growth, including biological, environmental, and lifestyle. What are the factors that affect growth? Human being is a complex, open system influenced by natural forces from within and from the environment. Similarly, growth of human is affected by the following factors. They are the biological, environmental, and lifestyle factors. Let us take them one by one. Biological factors influencing growth. The height, weight, and body build of an individual always represent the subsequent of both environmental and genetic factors together with their interaction. From the position of a gene, it is a long way to the acquisition of a trait, for the instance of height of 2 meters. For its expression, first, gene depends upon the internal environment shaped by all other genes, and secondly on external environment. Throughout the growth period, genetic material seems to be operative. Genetics of size and shape. Size and shape of an individual is independently controlled by genetical and environmental factors. The genetical mechanism of shape is too difficult than that of the size because shape signifies primarily how the cells are distributed, while size characterizes more the sum of sizes of various cells. The number of cells is fixed early in comparative safety of uterus. Their size continues to change during most of the childhood and in some cases, such as the fat cell, all through life. Genetics of size. From the Louisville data of Wilson, which we can see in the table, it shows that dizygotic same-sex twins resemble each other genetically no more closely than any other brother and sister since they arise from different fertilized ovum. The monozygotic pairs were in fact less similar than dizygotic at birth, but then this state quickly changed. Asymmetrical division of original ovum, one twin getting just a little more cytoplasm than the other, and somewhat to their different positions in overcrowded uterus could be responsible for differences between pairs at birth. The twin, who is smaller at birth, even if very little, ordinarily remains smaller throughout the life. But if differences is large in size at birth, signifying some real intrauterine distress to the smaller twin, then the differences later are quite large. We can see in the table the mean difference between the length of monozygotic twin pairs and the same-sex dizygotic twin pairs from birth to 4 years and within pair correlation coefficient. we see the level to which height is under genetic control is revealed in variation within families compared with the variation amongst a population where environmental conditions are suitable. Height is usually said to be controlled by many genes and hence it has polygene effect. Genetics of shape. Correlation of body measurements between parents and their children is higher than as shown in many studies. The correlation as displayed in table 2, we can see that in each parent, height contributes equally to each offspring, despite the belief that daughters resemble more to their mothers and sons to their fathers. Interpretations of these correlation is not entirely straightforward. Measurements which are affected by environment have low correlations. Effect of hormones on growth. Endocrine glands are a pool of cells that manufacture chemical agents and release them into the bloodstream, the hormones. The endocrine system is one of the chief agents for translating the instructions of gene into reality of adult form at the pace and with the result permitted by available environment. Some hormones act on cells very close to their origin and do not enter blood. Some enter the blood but only in special portion of the circulation designed to carry them a short distance to their target, and some enter the general bloodstream and are carried in all over the body. Hormones play a vital role in control of human growth. Let us discuss some of them. Now, growth hormones, which are represented as GH, is one of the most essential hormones of normal growth from birth to adulthood. Deficiencies of growth hormone ends up as adult in shorter height than their normal counterparts. Nowadays, growth hormone can be extracted from pituitary glands and can be administered to such children by injection. After that, they grow normally. GH is distinctly species specific. Majority of the time, the secretion of growth hormone in the blood of children as well as adults are so low that it is scarcely detectable, but few times in each 24 hours, the level escalates for a period of the order 30 to or 60 minutes. GH habitually secreted some 60 to 90 minutes after sleep begins and usually in response to anxiety and exercise. The secretion of growth hormone is different in individuals. Differences between normally large and normally small children and adults are perhaps due to receptors in cartilage cells which control size. Besides, normal small children have plenty of growth hormone and they are not turned into normal big ones by being given growth hormones in excess. In healthy children, blood levels of somatomedin do not reduce the age to parallel the velocity curve, but amazingly increase from infancy to puberty. Thus, the normal velocity of growth depends on a more elaborate level of control. Let's see what adrenal hormones are. The adrenal gland secretes a wide variety of hormones. This gland comprises of the inner core, the medulla, and the outer shell, the cortex. The two are distinct from a functional point of view, and the medulla, which secretes mostly adrenaline, contributes little to growth. The adrenal cortex secretes three groups of hormones: the glucocorticoids, mineralocorticoids, and androgens. Glucocorticoids, also called corticoids, this cortisol raises the formation of glucose from protein and has an anti-inflammatory and anti-stress action. Mineralocorticoids, these are the aldosterone and to a smaller extent 2-deoxycortisone. Aldosterone is necessary to life but then has no direct bearing on growth. Androgens, these are responsible for changes of puberty and may maintain the presence and size of some secondary sex characters, including muscle bulk. Let us learn about testosterone and estrogens. These are sex hormones. Testosterone is a male sex hormone and secreted by Leydig cells of testes. On the other hand, estrogens are known to be female sex hormones and secreted by ovaries. The first is in the fetus, where the rise begins at about 11 post-menstrual week and lasts probably till birth. During this time, the testosterone First causes differentiation of external genitalia to form penis and scrotum and then sustains the further growth of the penis. It may also have an action on brain, differentiating the hypothalamus irreversibly to the male, non-cyclic type. Estrogen level is low till puberty in females. A large increase occurs then, resulting in growth of the breast, uterus, vagina, and development of associated vaginal glands. It is also responsible for the growth of parts of pelvis. During menstruation, estradiol levels fluctuate regularly with the phase of the cycle. The secretion of estradiol is controlled by pituitary FSH, that is follicle stimulating hormones. Gonadotrophins. FSH, which is follicle stimulating hormone, and LH, that is Leydig cell stimulating hormone, are the two pituitary hormones. Both secrete at low level in childhood and increase sharply at puberty. FSH in males causes growth of the seminiferous tubules, the sperm producing parts of testes. FSH is necessary for the growth of sperm just as it is for the growth of eggs. On the other hand, in females, LH interacts with FSH to control the menstrual cycle. The egg grows under the influence of FSH and is shed. LH stimulates the body to produce the hormone progesterone, which maintains the uterus in a state receptive to the implantation of growth of the ovum should it be fertilized. If not fertilization and implantation occurs, LH levels decline, the uterus sheds its lining in menstruation and cycle starts again. Now the third environmental factors that also affect growth. Let's see what are the environmental factors that would be affecting growth. The prolonged period of biological immaturity has keen sensitivity to the environment, resulting in a plasticity of growth as a consequence of environmental interactions. The growth responses to the environment are part of the adaptive potentials of human beings. In the past, demographic parameters were appropriate to the conditions of the environment, and when disease and malnutrition occurred though acute, they tended to be short-term. But in the current scenario, many populations exist under conditions of great social and economic disadvantages, with overcrowding, poverty, malnutrition, and disease. Under these circumstances, environmental stress and deprivation, while ranging from moderate to acute, are chronic and interactable in the short term. This situation is exacerbated by the forces of acculturation, in which cultural values alter in response to changing norms. Let us see what is the effect of nutrition on growth. The growth of an individual to its inborn potential exponentially depends on adequate supply of nutrition. It includes total energy intake and intake of energy yielding vitamins, micronutrients, and minerals which we require for growth, maintenance, repair, and work during the course of human life. A child with nutritional growth retardation reaches a new energy equilibrium phase between genetically determined growth potential and the present energy intake. Thus, growth declaration is the adaptive response to suboptimal energy intake, but inadequate energy intake for a longer period of time evidently results into energy disequilibrium. The deficiency of essential nutrients results in growth retardation, but chronic undernutrition in children retards the growth in height and weight and delay rate of maturation towards adulthood. However, the delayed maturation may allow for some catch-up growth. Since improvement on diet also followed the same path, it is likely that the growth recovery was enlarged due to better nutrition. Effect of climate and seasonal variation on growth. The effect of climate on human growth and development is often measured by variation in body size and proportion. There are two basic ecological rules of biological adaptation to thermal environment, Allen and Bergman. The Bergman rule states that within the same species of warm-blooded animals, populations having less bulky individuals are more often found in warm climate nearer to the equator, while those with greater bulk or mass are found farther from the equator in colder regions. According to Allen's rule,
Among the warm-blooded animals, individuals in populations of the same species living in warm climate near the equator tend to have shorter limbs than do populations living farther away from equator in the colder environment. As the climatic variation influences the growth rate, similarly, the seasonal variations also have a subsequent effect on growth. At temperate latitudes, healthy, well-nourished children grow more quickly in height during the spring and summer, while fall or winter is the season of maximum weight gain. What happens is the sunlight synchronizes the body's fluctuation in growth, regulating hormone activity so that all necessary hormones are working simultaneously to speed up or slow down the rate of skeletal growth. The seasonal variation in rate of growth in weight could be explained by seasonal food shortage and diseases experienced. Weight growth is clearly due to increase and decrease in energy balance during the year. Effect of socio-economic status on growth. An individual's growth is the reflection of biocultural environment in which the individual conceived and developed. This environment is associated with socioeconomic status, included educational background, purchasing power for food, in turn nutrition, access to and use of healthcare facilities, programs, and lifestyle. Among all, mother's education plays an important role during pregnancy and also child rearing, which can affect the children's nutritional status, well-being, and survival.
Effect of pollutants on growth. Now, what is pollutant? A pollutant can be defined as a material or energy that is unwanted to some degree, is thought to interfere with health and well-being, and is produced by human activity either in part or entirely. Human physical growth may be adversely affected by pollutants even at low to moderate doses. For instance, lead as a pollutant is very common these days, especially in industrialized countries. It has been observed that lead affects the postnatal physical growth of a child. Among 5 to 13 years old children in the American Hispanic Health and Nutrition Examination Survey, those with lead levels between 11 to 40 micrograms per deciliter had 1 centimeter deficit in stature compared to children with lower lead level. Similarly, polychlorinated biphenyls are another pollutants affecting the growth.
Lifestyle factors affecting growth. Lifestyle is an individual way of living or a style a person possesses in a particular set of attitudes, values, habits, etc. Lifestyle is multifaceted. It is multidimensional, comprising of behavioral, socio-cultural, and economic dimensions of living. Due to urbanization and modernization in the developing countries, changes have been witnessed from traditional to modern way of life. When there is a movement from rural to urban, there are subsequent changes in dietary and activity patterns. Consequently, affects the biological profile of individual and population in terms of health, status, and growth pattern. Impact of lifestyle factors on prenatal growth. Effect of lifestyle on prenatal growth is another way of saying the lifestyle of pregnant women. The environment of the woman's womb in which the fetus grows has to be favorable for survival and normal growth. Lifestyle of a pregnant woman may affect the fetus in many ways. For instance, in a recent study in Netherlands by Mook Kanori et al. In 2010, it was observed that the mothers who smoked and did not consume appropriate folic acid supplements during first trimester of pregnancy had fetus with shorter crown to rump length compared to those who did not smoke and had optimal use of folic acid supplements. Also, first trimestral fetal growth retardation is associated with increased risk of adverse birth outcomes measured in terms of low birth weight. The low birth weight babies can be of two types: infants who are preterm and infants having low birth weight are small for date or small for gestational age. These infants have birth weights that are smaller than what is expected for their gestational age. This phenomenon is generally known as intrauterine growth retardation or fetal growth restriction. A variety of factors are held responsible for intrauterine growth retardation. For developing countries like India, Tobacco use, maybe smoking or chewing, and maternal malnutrition portrayed by low energy intake, together with insufficient consumption of micronutrients and consequent low weight gain, are most important. Consumption of alcohol is another important factor which affects the fetus in several ways, including restriction of fetal growth to a considerable extent. Roche in 1999 observed that while consumption of 2 or less drinks a day by a pregnant mother led to deficit of an average 65 grams in birth weight of their children, the same for pregnant mothers consuming more than 2 drinks were found to deficit 150 grams. It was also observed that higher the alcohol consumption by pregnant mothers, greater the prenatal growth restriction. Other chemical substances like caffeine, cocaine, heroin, methadone, and the like have adverse effect on intrauterine growth. It is well stated that most of the factors responsible for influencing intrauterine outcome as depicted birth weight are linked to maternal lifestyle exemplified by maternal nutritional status, maternal substance use status, etc. Physical activity, including non-strenuous physical exercise, is considered important to pregnant women for the benefit of fetal health and growth, especially during first 6 to 7 months. However, some evidences exist on association between strenuous exercise and reduced birth weight in humans. Impact of lifestyle factors on postnatal growth. After birth, the fetus gets exposed to external environment and the newborn starts adjusting and adapting newly introduced external environment. Human growth process is a product of intricate interaction among biological endowment and physical environment in which they are living and the socio-economic and political environment that humans create as a cultural being. Demographic, economic, and political reasons force people to migrate from one place to another. This naturally leads to changes in biological, physical, and social environment and consequently lead to changes in many facets of life leading to changes in growth pattern. Several studies were undertaken to demonstrate the urban-rural difference in growth profile in terms of height and other anthropometric variables, like the studies of the Shapiro in 1939 among Japanese children in Japan and in Hawaii by Goldstein and Lasker among Mexicans in Mexico, are considered historical studies. They reflected the effect of migration on growth, confirming contribution of developmental plasticity and its interaction with the changed environmental settings. Shapiro's study demonstrated that improvements in diet regimen, healthcare opportunities, and overall socio-economic status were a result of migration, and that these factors are associated with urban lifestyle and contributes to growth changes. Diet and nutrition also plays important role in human physical and growth development. According to Bogin in 1999, the growth and development of infants, children, and adolescents are dependent on balanced nutritional intake. Rich nutrient food will undisputedly help humans grow faster. Jenkins in 1981 emphasized ethnic differences in growth pattern as a result of differential access to socioeconomic resources and cultural practices. Poorer grow at a slower rate as compared to their counterparts belonging to high socioeconomic status. It has been demonstrated beyond any doubt that breast milk is the best food for the newborns and the infant, as milk has all the nutrients they acquire. A recommendation from World Health Organization suggests that infants should breastfeeding from birth to 6 months of age. Physical activity as a lifestyle factor showed effect on growth extensively. Regular physical activity from early childhood paves way for good health for coming years, that is, in mid or late childhood. Parental guidance in early childhood is an important determinant of physical activity since the attitudes and lifestyle of parents decides whether the child is regularly physically active. Salis in 2000 argued about the fact that gradual decline in physical activity between childhood and adolescence is a robust epidemiological phenomenon. Social, environmental, and biological factors are working in union for such a phenomenon to occur. technological advancement, globalization with ensuing market economy, attitudinal modernization, cash flow, and consumerism, and the like have been prime factors related to such behavior. Stress, which is not a physical factor but a psychological and emotional factor acting negatively on child growth. This condition, sometimes called as psychosocial dwarfism or deprivation dwarfism, it is found that such condition can lead to stunning and delayed maturity for 3 years. Factors responsible for such event could be maternal deprivation, isolation of child, disorganized or broken family life, and also physical or mental abuse. Possibly, this condition leads to suppression or impairment of growth hormone production and impaired nutrient utilization.
Let us summarize what we have learned in the module, Factors Affecting Growth. Humans are characterized by heightened sensitivity to the biological, cultural, and environmental factors. In the same way, growth is affected by them all. The resemblance in human reflects the influence of genes that parents contribute to their biological offsprings. This expression of a genetically inherited pattern of growth is regulated by many proteins that gene produces, and the entire process is mediated by several biological systems, especially endocrine and neurological systems. The study of human growth in relation to natural environment is one of the vital areas in the study of human variation and adaptation. The sensitivity to environment is demonstrated by the ability of the process to recover or catch up following episodes of disease and malnutrition. The influence of lifestyle related factors on pre and postnatal growth and development of human population is well studied and documented in developed and developing countries. It has been observed that socio-demographic factors that shape lifestyle of social groups such as migration, urbanization, socio-economic condition, rural-urban residence, as well as specific lifestyle related factors such as dietary practices, physical activity pattern, psychosocial stress have been portrayed a relation with pre and postnatal growth in human.